Luke Cash Money says, "Why not stay with the Bras, Hikaru?" I would stay with the Bras if I wanted to party every night, and maybe go like -6 or -7 in the event. A few draws, maybe a win, but a bunch of losses and a good time. I mean, if I wasn't super serious, then yeah, I would stay with Mr. Meow and everybody else. Thank you, Tagbon, for gifting a sub to Gushterika. But I don't feel like meowing in my head during every single game, so that's why I'm not staying with the Chess Bras. So yeah. Anyway, you guys, without further ado, let's look at my game from today, round 3 against Samuel Sevian. Very talented junior. I think he's originally from California. I think he's been in Boston for quite a few years now. So very talented kid. I think I don't know if he actually broke my record for youngest GM, but he became a GM at a very young age as well. And he's had some good results. Hasn't won anything lately, but he's always been quite a decent player. So, all right, you guys. Someone said something. All the love coming from LA, California dreaming, baby. Cali forever, right? Other than the taxes, Cali is a great place. So I'm sure Rex would love that comment. He would love that comment about taxes and California. Anyway. So C4 was what I played today against Sam Sevian. He played E5. I played Knight C3, Knight F6, and I played Knight F3 here. In a previous game we played, I want to say in Foxwoods some years back. I think it was Foxwoods. The game went G3, T5, takes, Knight D5, Bishop G2, Knight B6, Knight F3, Knight C6. Actually, it wasn't Foxwoods. It was maybe it was the North American Open. I'm not sure what event it was, but yeah, we played this variation of the Open English. I won the game. It was a very difficult struggle, but I did end up winning. I forget who it was. I forget exactly when it was. Chris, when was that game? Okay, and not even my trainer knows when it was, but I remember the game. I don't remember the year or where it was, but that's life, y'all. So thank you, Akila Ungula, for resubbing with a tier 1 sub. Been taking for 7 months now. Yes. Yeah, you're very... Thank you, Akila Ungula. Mana says, Chris, the trainer. Yes. BJH says, we demand Chris Littlejohn on stream. Not tonight, you guys. Maybe if I win the event, maybe Chris and I will go over to the Chess Bras and we'll show up and have a good time. But for right now, the tournament's just begun, so that's not going to be happening tonight. And thank you, Mr. Broadstone, for subscribing with a tier 1 sub. Professional moisturizer. No, that would not be Chris Chirilla. Actually, it's Christian Chirilla. But no, my trainer is Chris Littlejohn, not Christian Chirilla.
You're talking about your game at Millionaire, aren't you?
I don't know where the event is. Millionaire. Okay.
North American Open since you were like 10 years
old. Okay, so anyway, as my trainer was saying, the game was in Millionaire. It was at Millionaire Chess that I beat Sam Sevian. I couldn't remember, but it was there. Anyway, all right, you guys. So yeah, but yeah, my trainer is not Christian Chirilla. Somebody might want to troll him on stream or on Twitter tomorrow. They'll be like, "Hey, Christian, did you prepare that English for Hikaru in his game against Sevian yesterday?" And Christian will probably lose his mind if he's not watching the stream right now, which he very easily could be, since I know he also follows the stream. Anyway, so back to the game. So I did not play this G3 line that I played against Sam last time. I played Knight F3. Knight C6. Now I played the glorious 4E4, creating a nice hole on D4, just a nice Swiss cheese pawn structure here, just giving black complete control over this D4 square. And I was playing my game, so I couldn't actually watch the commentary, but from what I heard, Mr. Gotham Chess, also known as Levy Rosman, thought that I made a mouse slip. He thought that I intended to play 4E3. And I also heard that the commentators thought E4 was just a terrible move as well. Jennifer, Maurice, and Yasser, they thought it was just a terrible move with no bite at all. So so pretty much nobody liked E4, but I played E4 because I had a slightly better understanding than the commentators of the position. Monis is calling Levy out. No, Levy's all good. Levy's fine. I heard that the commentators of the event were saying E4 is such a terrible move. It's nothing. Super Cyan says that it was good. Okay, well, Robert's a legit player. Robert is He's an OG. I played him in the U.S. Championship in 2009, and Robert's an OG. He knows he's still young enough that and good enough at chess that he knows what's happening and what's up. So, all right. So I played e4 here. Sam played bishop to b4. One thing is bishop c5 here, which makes a lot of sense. Try to put the bishop on the diagonal right away. Doesn't work. Pass pawn 99 says OG stands for what? Just Google that, bro. Google it. If bishop c5, Mana says old grandmaster. I think it means original gangster or old guard is my understanding. So knight e5. 95 is played here. And then after d4, black has issues because I'm hitting both the knight and the bishop. And I've also got a very nice center here as well. Mana says stop reading my comments. Maybe it's just the color of the font, Mana. Maybe that's what it is. So after e4, old guard. Oh, overpowered grandmaster. Touche. That's a good one as well. Anyway, yeah. Of course, it means original gangster, you guys. So anyway, after e4, Sam plays bishop b4, trying to put pressure on the knight, and also putting pressure on the pawn at e4. Michael NH says video lag, bad hotel Wi-Fi. Well, I'm doing this on a Zoom call, you guys, because I can't do it. I can't stream myself because the Wi-Fi is not good enough, and because this hotel doesn't have Ethernet ports, unlike the Parkway Plaza, I have to do it through a Zoom call. So any of the issues with the sound or the video, I can't really help them. And if you want to, just call the hotel and yell at the front desk. Because the hotel was also bought recently, so they're supposed to be upgrading everything. When you buy a hotel for like 90 million or whatever amount it was that the Sinesta Group bought the hotel for, and the Wi-Fi is bad and everything, well, just blame them. Don't blame me. So, all right, you guys. So bishop b4 was played. Here I played the move. Here I played d3. I played d3. The point being that I need to protect the pawn at e4 here. Black's threatening to take the knight. If I play something like queen c2, black can play knight d4. Knight d4 takes knight d5, and even something like this, followed by queen e7, castles d6, and an early f5 or bishop f5. And black should be fine because I can't play d3 right away because of the pin on my king. So this would have been pretty bad for white. Actually, do you guys see the arrows or not? Actually, let me see. Do you guys see the arrows or not? Let me see. Do you guys see the arrows? Let me pull this back for a second. You guys do see the arrows, right? Yeah, you see arrows? Awesome. Awesome. Very, 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 very nice. Okay, that is fantastic. So, okay, I wasn't sure. I'm not sure if you guys could see the arrows when I streamed the other day, but since you can see the arrows, that's very, very nice. But yeah, so, all right, bishop b4, queen c2, or d3, sorry, d3, d6. Here I played a3. Hitting the bishop on b4. If black takes, I can take castles and play something like bishop e2, castles, knight e1, and play for immediate f4, f5. So, for example, let's just say black plays h6 to stop bishop g5. Something like castles, knight d7, knight e1, knight c5. And then I can go knight c2, knight e3, combined with f4, maybe even d4 to hit the knight on c5. And that should be pretty pleasant for white. So Sam correctly did not play bishop takes c3. He played bishop c5. And the point being that, unlike in the previous position here, the pawn on d6 protects e5. So I can't play knight e5 here because black would take back with the pawn, not the knight. And now I don't get any of these d4 ideas hitting the knight and the bishop. Thank you, BJH13, for donating 100 bits. Yeah, so that's why here black plays d6 first to support the pawn and then drops the bishop back on this diagonal, eyeing the f2 square. Gotham just says, BGH, don't flatter him. Don't flatter me, Gotham. All right, fair is enough. So here I played b4, hitting the bishop, bishop b6. Now here I played knight to a4, hitting the bishop on b6 again, trying to exchange it because this bishop is very nice on this long diagonal. And so for that reason, Sam played bishop g4. I played bishop to e2. Thank you, Just Hard Knights, for subscribing with Twitch Prime. Best of luck winning the event. Long way to go. Long way to go. It's one game. So I played bishop e2. Now here Sam played knight d7. And as we briefly discussed after the game, the idea that Sam played in the game, and I think I mentioned this on the live broadcast as well, where with takes, bishop b2 castles, h3 takes, this position that we reached in the game, just going forward a bit, black puts a knight on d4, and he's still playing for something like c5 with a knight on d7. But there was no need for this if Sam wanted to go for the setup right away, because he could have just simply played bishop takes f3, bishop f3, knight d4, and now after knight b6, a b6. We reached the same position after bishop b2, but black hasn't wasted a move on knight d7. I also don't have h3, which serves a very nice purpose later on with king h2. So for that reason, it was a little bit surprising that Sam played knight d7, and after I took on b6 that he took with the pawn, because when you play knight d7, I also thought maybe he would take with the knight just to avoid getting these double b7, b6 pawns, but in reality, by playing knight d7, it doesn't really serve a purpose, and perhaps it's a little bit premature to go for the setup. So, no, this was not a 15-10 game. This was a slow game of classical chess. a6, bishop b2. Worth noting, I can't play h3 here because of bishop f3, and then black plays knight takes b4, and if I take the knight, I lose the rook on a1, so I'm simply down a pawn. So for that reason, I played bishop b2, protect the rook, so there are no tricks on the a file anymore. So Sam castled, I played h3. Important because if I castled here, I was a little bit concerned that maybe he could play f5, and if I take on f5, maybe rook f5, for example, and I wasn't sure what's going on in position, and I really wanted to avoid this, so for that reason, I played h3 first to hit the bishop. And now if Sam plays bishop h5 here, I can castle, and if f5, I take rook f5, and I have the nice g4 in between, hitting the rook on f5 and the bishop on h5, and I would simply be winning material here. Not Ogrubos says, wow, that's a lot of time. Yeah, games can go 6 hours, everybody. This is classical chess for you. You better have your nuts. You better have your nuts. You better have your cranberry quinoa bars. You better have your coffee, your Perrier water, everything you need to survive for 6 hours, basically. So yeah. Yeah, so Virtuich says, are you aware that if you win the tourney, the hype for Naka World Champion will be revived like the Phoenix? Like the Phoenix, yes. I do actually like to associate myself with the Phoenix, rising from the ashes to come back. Gush Cherika says 6 hours, one game. Yeah, Gushy, chess games go a long time. You know, it's not like you get to go online and just go boom, 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 play for an hour and just like chill out. Chess games go a long, bloody time. So, all right. So, in the game after h3, Sam played bishop takes f3. Hop of the DeLorean says that's why his walls are orange. My walls are orange because of what? Mana says no chill chess. No, classical chess is not about chilling. Classical chess is about endurance and suffering for hours on end, for days on end, for weeks on end, and just hoping that you don't go insane in the process. So bishop takes f3 was played. I played bishop takes f3, obviously. Sam played knight d4. Now I castled. And the reason I castled here is because there are three basic setups here for black. So I castled, and I could have taken first, takes, castles, and he would have played c5 probably. And this structure is playable. Perhaps white is better, but I decided not to do this because I thought what happened in the game was better with castles and knight f3. But really, the whole game, everything about this line and this opening comes down to three basic setups. So after castles, black has three possible setups. One is to play knight f3, queen f3 like in the game, with his bishop on b2 against his knight on d7. The other two setups involve the move c5 here, and after bishop takes d4, black can take with either the c pawn or take back with the e pawn. So basically, there are three setups here, and Sam chose to take on f3, which I thought was probably one of the most natural ways to play, but one of the hardest to be precise in, which is specifically why I did not play this other order and force him into this structure right away. So after castles, if black plays c5 takes and he takes with the c pawn, this is probably the worst setup for black because you can never play for f5 because then this pawn on b7 is weak, and after something like a4, queen e7, I think queen d2 is most logical. Black has some real issues here because I can play bishop d1, bishop b3, followed by f4, and I put a lot of pressure on this long diagonal here. So this is setup number one. This is the first setup. Black also has two sets of double pawns as well, and I think that this is very hard to play, practically speaking, for Black. So, hello, Roman Chess's Master too. Hope you're having a wonderful evening. So, so for example, let's just say Black plays, I don't know, rook a7, bishop d1, rook a8, then I can go bishop b3. So I'm protecting the pawn on a4, but I also put pressure on this long diagonal. I'm going to follow it up with f4 and put even more pressure on this long diagonal from a2 to g8. So this cd4 idea is probably bad for this reason. This is a very, very deep concept, this idea of playing queen d2, bishop d1, bishop b3, and f4. But I think this concept is extremely strong, and white should be much better here. So for that reason, I think this idea, this structure is probably not the best one for Black. The other structure Black has here is with c5 takes an e4, and this one I think is objectively the best for Black to play here, but it's also the scariest looking. And the reason it's scary is because you're never really threatening to take on b4, and by capturing with the e pawn towards the center, white's going to get this move f4, and there are all kinds of ideas with attacking in the center. However, I think that this should be okay for Black. So for example, if I play a move like queen d2, Black plays queen e7 here with the idea of doubling the rooks, and after, say, bishop e2, rook a7. If I play f4 here, I think Black can play rook a8, queen b2, and maybe he can play f5 here. But even without f5, even if Black just sits around and waits with, say, g6, after bishop f3, king g7, it's very hard to prove anything for white because you can't move the rook, you can't really move the queen because of this pressure. You don't want to go b5, you don't want to take on c5, and it's very hard to force these breaks through with e5 or f5. So, for example, if I try f5, knight e5, bishop e2, Black can play queen g5 or even just f6, and this bishop is stuck behind this wall of pawns. So the bishop is doing absolutely nothing, and the knight on e5 can never be removed because I already pushed the pawn to f5, so it can't go back to f4 and attack the knight on e5. So for that reason, I think this is objectively the most solid setup here because it's very hard for white to prove anything here. But during the game, I noticed when I castled very quickly, or not castled very quickly, when I castled, Sam almost instantly played knight takes f3. And this made me very happy because when Sam played this move after maybe 10 seconds, it was very clear that he was extremely happy to reach this position, meaning that he had assessed that this line with bishop d4, e4 castles, and c5, he thought was really scary for Black. Because normally in this position, you would not just instantly hack the bishop on f3. You would think about, well, I can play c5. What's the ideal setup that I want? And when Sam took on f3 right away, I knew that immediately he was feeling very comfortable and very happy to reach this position. And I knew, based on the three possible setups that I had looked at before the game, that this was probably the one that was the most dangerous for Black. Maybe dangerous is the wrong word, but the one where it's very hard for Black to play, even though it looks very natural. And the reason that it's hard to play is because, for example, if Black plays something like, let's just say Black plays some normal moves like c5, for example, trying to open it, I go b5, and let's just say he plays queen e7, queen g4, maybe queen g3 is, well, queen g4 is fine, rook e8, f4, trying to open the diagonal. If he plays f6 to be solid, after f5, Black is probably losing here because this knight is terrible on d7. This knight is basically dead. It has no access to the d4 square. It can't go to e6 because of the f5 pawn. It can't go to c6 and d4 because of the b5 pawn. And so the knight basically on d7 is just completely dead here. It's just a really big pawn, essentially, and it's just stuck here with no squares to go to. So for this reason, it's actually quite dangerous. Thank you, Clara Cottontail, for gifting a sub to Evertwitch. Thank you so much for that, Clara. Yeah, this knight on d7 is just like, I mean, the knight is out to lunch. It can't do anything here in the position to help out. And eventually I'm going to go something like queen h4, g4, g5, king h2, rook g1. I might also play a4, a5 long term and open up the a file as well. So it's really, really hard to play here for Black. But this is a very deep concept. So, like, if you aren't familiar with the concept before the game, it's not something that you'll naturally come to or understand. And so it's something very deep that you have to understand. You have to understand the danger that's lurking in the position here for black. So, and for this reason, this is why all these lovely commentators here in St. Louis are saying I'm playing boring chess. It's not exciting, blah blah blah, because they simply do not understand that there actually is a lot of intuitive stuff here going on. Thank you, Lucy Luke Strikes, for subscribing with a tier 1 sub. Thank you, Tebdal, for subscribing with Twitch Prime. Thank you, Visa, with the Yasser Maurice emotes. But yeah, basically the point is it's a very deep and very concrete understanding of the structure that's required to really see that there is a lot of deep stuff going on in the position. It's not just some boring position which is just a draw. Hasing says, surely if it's deep, it's not intuitive. Anyway, yeah, so, but here Sam correctly played Queen G5, trying to prevent any of these Queen G4, F4 ideas, which makes a lot of sense. Here I played Rook E1. And essentially the problem here, Garrett Somers says, shocking. I mean, it's shocking to hear that Hikaru knows more about chess than commentators. Like, it's just the most shocking thing ever. But yeah, so, I mean, of course, I'm sure the computer also probably says it's just, it's just equal. White's like 0.1, 0.2, very boring game. But yeah, so color me shocked. But yeah, so here I played Rook E1. The one big issue here for black is that you can't play F5. So it'd be very natural for black to play F5, something like Rook F5, and just double the rooks on the F file. Maybe even try to put the knight on F4 to put pressure on G2 and H3. Danny says, legend. It's totally legend. Wait for it, dairy. But anyway, yeah. So the ideal in a perfect world, black wants to go F5, take with the rook, double up, go knight F6, knight H5, knight F4. If black can get all of that, then black is completely winning. Robert Hess said white was better here in the commentary. Robert is a frickin' boss. What can I say about Robert? The guy is he's a very good commentator, but he's an even more amazing chess player, I have to say. When I when I saw Robert doing commentary during the World Championship with Danny, good old Danny boy, when I was on, and I think even when Levon was on, there were a couple of times that Robert just flat out calculated us. And oh, did I get blurry, you guys? Did I get blurry? 1 second. Let me turn off the video. Start the video. Am I back? Am I clear again, you guys? Am I clear? Am I good? It's good. Okay. Okay, we're good? Okay, we are good. It's clear again. All right, you guys. So as I was saying about the one and only, the legendary Bobby Hess himself, there were a couple times during the World Championship match when he flat out calculated both Levon and myself when we made our guest appearances, and he also played an Isle of Man, and I think he drew Vishy Anand in a game. I think he was actually better. So yeah, Bobby is amazing. If Bobby says white is better, I'm going to frickin' trust Bobby more than I'm going to trust Maurice, Yasser, or Jen, because Bobby knows what's up. And evidently, he likes old man chess. I think Maurice or Yasser, whichever one of them said that I'm playing old man chess. I'm like, not exciting. Where did the old Hikaru go? Blah, 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 blah. Bobby knows what's up. Bobby's in the know. That would be a Maurice. Why am I not surprised? Anyway, so Rook E1. Sam played knight B8 here, which is Chess Bender says, old man chess equals deep chess. Thank you, Sun Valley Dreamer, for subscribing with Twitch Prime. At Hikaru, my regular dose of stream chess. Thank you so much, Sun Valley Dreamer. So here Sam played knight b8, very logical move because it's hard to come up with ideas. So one idea here is you're worried about white breaking the center with d4. So one idea is c5, but after white plays b5, b5 is important, by the way. If I play, let's just say some random move like g3, maybe black can consider opening up the a file and bringing the rook into play here. So here I should play b5 to avoid opening the a file. The a pawn is never weak because the bishop guards it. And now it's hard for black to come up with an idea because ideally, again, you want to play f5. But after you've thrown in c5, b5, when I take this pawn as a permanent weakness. So essentially, you lose the option of playing f5 if you play c5 to stop d4. Thank you, Read the Damn Book, for subscribing with a tier 1 sub. But basically, so it's hard. So like you want to stop d4, but if you play c5, you compromise the structure, and this pawn on b7 is always weak, so it's going to be extremely hard to get an f5. And at the same time, after b5, if you can't get an f5, eventually I'm going to go rook e3, queen e2, rook g3, and f4 myself, and put all kinds of pressure on the pawn on g7. Thank you, 40th Formula, for subscribing with Twitch Prime. Thank you, Jin the Bin, for subscribing with Twitch Prime as well. So basically, it's the c5. Thank you, Slippy Pope, for subscribing with Twitch Prime. Basically, c5 is logical, but it's hard because you really, this pawn on b7 becomes a permanent weakness, and so you don't want to go c5. At the same time, you can't really play f5 as I highlighted before because I take it and the pawn on b7 is hanging again. And if you play c6, for example, to try and cut the diagonal and then follow up with f5 here, I can quite simply play d4 here, and it's very similar to the game. Now you've got a long-term weakness on d6. This pawn on b6 is a little bit iffy too, and it's a little bit hard to play here. So it's a very tricky position to play here. And this is one of the things that kind of is frustrating. Or thank you, Abju Goer, for subscribing with Twitch Prime. This is one thing that's frustrating because this game is so rich in ideas. It's such a deep game with so many different plans and possibilities for both sides that to hear the commentators saying that it's like just boring, nothing's happening. These guys need to go to Siberia and learn some Russian technique because this is a very deep game. And a lot of action in it. Lot to be learned, I should say. So here, yeah, I mean, you know, every Russian schoolboy knows that like a bishop is better than a knight for starters. Or not actually every Russian schoolboy. Every American world champion from the 1970s, I should say, because the other Bobby Fischer was a legend at proving that a bishop is superior to a knight. So, all right, so here Sam played knight b8, very logical idea, trying to put the knight on c6 and d4. And to show, again, how tricky this position is, one idea that I can try here, not that I would do this, but one thing that I can do here is I can try to play g3. Whoa, thank you, an anonymous gifter, for gifting 20 subs to the community. Thank you, an anonymous gifter. Thank you so much for the 20 gifted subs. Wow, thank you so much. So one thing that's, again, another very deep concept that's important to realize in the position here is, so in the previous variation, you remember I was getting pawns to b5 and f5. So like here I'm going to go g3, f4, but if I allow black to get something like this even, with queen e7, f5, f6, let's just say g4, c5, b5, for example, you'll notice that here the knight is on d4. So even though I got the pawns here, the knight got to d4 before the pawns covered the key squares. So here, white's actually not even better because the knight on d4 is amazing. They're always going to be long-term threats. And I don't want to take the knight because then the a3 pawn is hanging. So like if black can get this knight to d4 in any setup here, then black is completely fine. So that's why in this position I realized that as much as I wanted to play something traditional like queen g2, knight d4, f4, I realized that in all these positions, the knight actually gets to d4, so even though I get the pawns to these key squares, the knight has already jumped in, and the knight is really, really well placed here on d4. So for that reason, I played the other thematic idea, because like here there really are only two ideas for white. Either you play for d4 or you play for f4, and so I played d4 here. Sam played knight to c6, and now I took on e5. Important move here. If I play d5 here, I close the diagonal, so the bishop is sort of hitting on granite because the pawn on e5 is guarded by the pawn on d6. And now after knight e7, black sort of gets a dream. He can go for f5, knight g6, knight f4, knight h4. and there are going to be all kinds of threats on the F and G files here. So for that reason, I have to take on e5, just very principled, open the diagonal for the bishop. Sam took with the pawn. If he takes with the knight here, I just simply go queen b3, and I'm going to follow it up with rook e3, f4, rook g3. Something really bad is probably going to happen on the long diagonal here for black. So for that reason, so for Repa says, listening to his commentary makes me feel like an idiot, LOL. Don't worry, Repa. I'm sure you'll be hearing about all the commentators and what they missed in this game tomorrow. So that'll make you feel a lot better. No worries. So so DE5. Right, so here Sam took with the pawn correctly. He's got to stop F4 ideas. But the one problem here for black after rook D1 is that I'm going to get a rook to D5, and there are all kinds of issues with B5 and pressure on this E5 pawn because this bishop is slightly better than this knight here on C6. So DJH13 says Hikaru is sassy tonight. Well, I mean, the game today was a really, really great game. So to hear the commentators saying all these random things about how boring it was and how unexciting it was, it's very sad because this was a game very rich in ideas, filled with a lot of deep thinking by both of us. Dr. Dragonissi, also known as Mr. Danya Naroditsky, says, the feeling when you think you played well and the commentators just trash, it was really frustrating. I'm sure Danya's had plenty of experience with that. I think he played 1 or 2 US championships. I'm sure there were plenty of times when Murray said all kinds of rubbish about his games. So that's just how it goes sometimes. I feel your pain, actually. I do, because like this was such a good game, so rook d1. Sam played rook d8. Maybe he could have played rook a d8. I'm not sure if it makes a huge difference either way, because after rook d5, I guess here he's trying to play for f5 again. I don't think it makes a huge difference which way he plays it. But having said that, it does, if you're going to go for the ideas that Sam had in mind with knight d4, it makes sense to keep the rook on a to hit the pawn on a3 long term. So Sam played rook d8 here. I played rook to d5. Sam took. Can black play knight e7? The problem here is that black has to deal with 3 ideas. He has to deal with b5, hitting the pawn e5. He also has to deal with rook d7, hitting the pawn. So if black plays knight e7, then I take the 7th rank, hitting the knight and the pawn. Maybe black can play rook c8 here, or rook c8 I think loses to bishop c1, hitting the queen. The queen h4, I just go g3, and the queen's overloaded. He can't protect the knight any longer. If you go queen f6, I just trade and take the knight on e7. So for that reason, knight e7 really isn't possible. So like the real issue sort of is that you have to stop rook d7 first and foremost, because otherwise everything's going to fall apart here. So for that reason, I think rook d8 is forced. Maybe black can try queen e7, but again, it's very hard to play after rook d5. The point being, I can play rook d1, try to take the 7th. b5 is always a lurking threat. If he plays rook d8, rook d1 again, maybe he can try f6, but it just feels like white should be much better. I'm not sure. Maybe queen g4 is one way. Again, try to take the 7th rank. Maybe queen b3, play for c5, open up the b file, and also hit the king on g8. But basically, it's very passive and very hard to play. So queen e7 is a tough move to play, and I think rook d8, from a practical standpoint, makes the most sense. So here I played rook to d5. Sam played rook takes d5. Kind of a forced move almost. Again, it's very hard. b5 is a huge threat. Black does not have time for something like knight d4. So for example, just to show quickly, you guys, in the game, thank you, Mr. Gotham Chess, also known as Mr. Levy Rosman, for gifting 20 subs to community. Another big-time streamer, streams almost every day. I haven't been following lately just because I've had to play the first couple of rounds here, but big time streamer as well. I assume almost all of you already know his channel or follow him, or even are subscribers. So thank you to Mr. Gotham Chess for the 20 gifted subs. Thank you so much. So now you'll notice in the game here, I did take anyway and go queen d3, but black ideally would like to force this trade in a favorable situation, and here black can't force it because after takes. I have bishop e3, hitting the queen on g5 and hitting the rook on d5. So black would really like to force it, but he can't force this in right away, so he has to take first. And now here I thought for about half an hour, and I ended up making a mistake here. So thank you, Wizard Stick, for subscribing with a tier 1 sub. I made a mistake here after about a 30-minute think. I took with the c pawn, which is actually wrong. If I take with the e pawn, this probably is close to winning here for white. And the reason I didn't do this is because I was worried about knight e7, d6, knight c6. I should play b5 here. If I take on c7, black can go queen e7, hits the pawn, tries to capture on c7. Maybe it doesn't make a difference because I maybe still have b5, knight a5 to transpose. But for argument's sake, I was just worried about queen e7 and takes, which is why I calculated b5 to hit the knight. Knight a5, d takes c7, queen e7. And here, essentially, I completely miscalculated this line when I was looking at it over the board because I thought that after I play a move like rook e1 here, hitting the pawn at e5, that black could play f6. And I completely overlooked the brilliant idea with queen d5 check. If king f8, I think even bishop c3 with the idea of bishop b4 is probably winning here. But on king h8, I think there's is it bishop takes to e5? I think bishop takes e5, fe5, queen e5, if I remember correctly, is completely winning here for white. Idea rook e5, rook to d5, and rook to d8. And this knight is just way out of play here on c4. It's so slow. And so for that reason, this is completely winning. But for some reason, I overlooked all these ideas with queen d5 and taking on e5, unfortunately. And it's worth noting, if black takes queen c7, bishop e5, queen c4, I think just queen g3. If f6, I take because of the pin, and now rook e7 is coming, and it's curtains for black. If g6, I think I can play maybe just bishop somewhere. Probably b2 with the idea of queen e5 and just checkmates are coming on the dark squares. Queen e8's an idea as well. And it should be winning. If queen b5, queen c3, and it's game over. Maybe black can try queen c5 to hold both of these squares. But I feel like after queen f3, he can't. Again, you can't stop all the squares, and this diagonal is just crushing here for white. So for that reason, I should have gone for this. I mean, I saw all this up to queen e7, rook e1. I just underestimated these ideas with bishop e5. If knight c4, I have queen b7, hitting the rook, threatening to queen the pawn as well. Silver Nico, Hikaru. Damn, Hikaru, such boring old man chess. I know, so boring, such old man chess. That's why this game was such a boring draw. Like, he just got everything he wanted. It was a boring draw. Thank you, Silver Nico. But yeah, so Chessbender, quit being old and deep, man. Yes. All right. So yeah, so I should have taken with the e-pawn. And also after knight d4 here, there's one big difference with this setup, because here I can play queen e3, and I'm hitting the queen, I'm hitting the pawn, hitting the knight. And here I think black has to play h6, and I think after f4, this is just close to loss for black. I'm just going to take the knight or take the pawn on e5 here, and everything's just overloaded for black. So, and if black takes on e3, I take. If knight c2, I think just king f2 is winning. I protect the pawn. Black can't take on a3 because of rook a1, and he'll lose the knight on a3. If he tries maybe rook a6, I think even just rook c1, knight a3, if bishop takes e5, just run this d pawn down the board. This should just be winning because the knight on a3 is completely dead here. What happened to my mic? Sorry, you guys. I know there's some issues here in St. Louis, but this is the best I can do. So sorry, you guys. So after queen e3, f e3, knight c2, king f2, I think black is just lost. If knight b3, I think even bishop takes e5 is probably good enough. Again, same idea. maybe even just rook d1 idea, rook d3 to trap the knight. Everything should be winning here for white. So Mate in China says, "You sound great, man. Don't even trip." Thank you, man in China, or Mate in China. Sorry, glad to see that you have crossed the the Great Wall, and you actually have access to Twitch. So thank you so much, Mate in China. So I should have taken the E pawn. It's objectively probably winning. If knight e7, I think, or well, if d6 and b5 is winning, even maybe queen e4 with f4 is pretty good. But there are many ways to win. So I should have taken with the E pawn, but I took with the C pawn because it made sense. I opened up the C file, and I miscalculated these ideas. But I figured here I get pressure on C7 and E5, and this should also be really good. So here Sam played a very good move. He played knight d4, trying to simplify into an ending where he has reasonable drawing chances. So takes, queen d3. Sam played c5. Now, the real issue here for black is that, first of all, he has double b pawns, which make for a very serious liability in any endgame. And secondly, if I take, I can also create this pass d pawn, maybe even f4, e5, d6, and just try to run this pawn all the way down to d8 here. So for that reason, Sam played c5, protecting his pawn on d4 here. If I take, he takes. Now it's double-edged, because even though I've got a pass pawn, he's also got two protected pass pawns that he can run down the board as well. So here I played d takes c6, also known as en passant. Here Sam played b takes c6, queen takes d4. Now I played c5. And here black is down a pawn, but there is one big thing to remember in this position, which is that if I trade on c5, let's say we reach some ending like this, for example, rook c1 takes, rook c5, f6 or h6, all pawn moves draw, but let's just say f6 here. En passant, croissant. Yeah. Je voudrais un croissant maintenant. Anyway, so f6 here. I can't believe I just said that. Okay, so here after f6, after f6, so after f6, this is a classic 4-on-3 rook and pawn endgame, and because the pawns are all on the same side, this is a poisson, not a poisson. I don't want to eat fish right now. So after f6, after f6 is a 4 versus 3 endgame. That is comment dit-on en croissant? Croissant anglais? Anyway, all right. So back to English before I turn this into a French stream here. If we reach this endgame, it's 4-on-3, and this is quite simply just this is a known draw. The 4 versus 3 with these pawns on the king side is a theoretical draw. So that's the one thing. Black is down a pawn here, but that is the practical issue I have here in the positions, that even though I'm up the pawn, we've got this 4 versus 3, and we've got the two pawns here on the queen side. So if black can exchange all the pawns, then it's a draw. Chris Wainscott says that's Old Man French shell. No, Old Man French would be what they speak in Montreal, also known as where Eric and Ahmad sometimes reside. Anyway, Balajit13 says it's not easily a draw. Kasparov did lose. Yeah, Kasparov did lose that too. I believe it was Jerome Piquet in I think it was an online event on Kasparov Chess in like 2002 or something. But generally speaking, I mean, everybody these days is so good at these rook and pawn endgames, these theoretical ones, that like I would not expect Sam to mess it up if he was able to reach the 4 versus 3. I would fully expect him to make the draw without any issues. So after c5, I played queen d6 because I didn't want to take, allowing this endgame with queen c5. So I played queen d6 here, which actually is a mistake. So here I should have played queen to c3 or maybe queen d3. The point being that I want to take back with the a pawn and remove this weakness on a3. Now in the game, Sam was a little bit low on time, and I thought queen d6 forced him to take, so I'm threatening to just take the pawn on b6. And if I win the pawn on b6, I just win the But here, we both miss that black has this nice resource, just playing h6, completely ignoring the threats, and more importantly, creating an escape square for his king on h7 here. Thank you, Gold Destroyer, for rating the party of 98. 1 second, you guys want to grab some water? Give me 1 second. So, yeah, escape the scare. All right, I just had some water nearby, so didn't have to go too far. Yeah, this is me doing my Marco Rubio. Go off screen, grab my water. So, yeah. All right, you guys. So, okay. So, all right. Yeah. So, all right. So h6 is a very good move. It creates the Chessbase says he's Florida man too. I forgot. Yes, Marco Rubio is a Florida man as well. Thank you for reminding me. So after h6, the problem here is that the a3 pawn is weak. If I take on c5, he just takes with the queen. I'm going to have to trade queens so that I don't lose the pawn on a3 here. And then it's a draw again. Blobe75 FM says the first time I heard Rubio speaking in perfect French. I don't know, is that a compliment or an insult that you're comparing me to Marco Rubio? I don't know. Anyway, you guys. Anyway, so yeah, so the problem here is I don't want to take on c5. But if I play queen b6, which is logical, because I mean, I can't really, I mean, maybe I can play queen d3 and protect the pawn on a3 here. Cadios says, hello, Spanish viewer here. Nice to see you, Hikaru. Nice to see you, Hikaru. Thank you, Cadios. I already did my French. I don't feel like speaking some Spanish as well, so I'll keep it simple for right now. So, all right, so after h6, if I take on b6, rook takes a3. The problem here is if I play queen takes c5, black can trade and go rook to c3, and now I'm going to lose the pawn on c5, and again, we're going to end up in the same 4 versus 3 ending, which is a theoretical draw. So for that reason, I would probably take, but after rook c3, this rook is passive and the pawn is under attack. So if I play c6, black can play queen to c5. And if I trade again, same thing, I can't protect the pawn. If I throw in a check, king h7 and queen b7 to hit the pawn on f7, black can then take on c6, queen takes f7, queen takes e4. And here we've reached an even simpler one, 3 versus 2. This is an even easier draw here for black. GoCool999 says, speak as much French and Spanish. It'll always be better than Danny's floss. Well, I don't even know what to say to that, but I do agree with that statement. So basically, h6 would have been a very good move. Sam was low on time, to be fair, so he had maybe 4 minutes, I think, at this point, and he made the mistake of taking on b4. And after a takes b4, one would think, well, it's still the same kind of thing. I mean, we've both got a pawn, but the problem with trading and getting rid of this weakness on a3 is that all the endgames here are very bad for black. And it's not obvious at first glance, but there's a specific reason it is. So if black plays, let's just say b5 here. Well, actually, let's see, what's a better, let's just say black plays b5, I play rook to d1, h6, here I play queen to d5. Just as an example, if black trades, I take, and he has to go passive here. So ideally, black would like to put a rook, let's just, as an example, let's just say I play random moves. He would like to get this sort of position where he has an active rook hitting pawns. Or, for example, let's just say, what's another way to play this? Let's just say, just as an example, he would like to get this position where my rook is passive guarding the pawn and his rook can never be removed from c4, even if I get the king to d3. So if black can get this setup with the active rook on c4 against the passive rook on b2, then black should be completely fine and drawing really easily. So this is the ideal setup for black with the active rook against the passive rook. The problem in this line, though, as I pointed out, is, so for example, if we reach this position, you'll notice that here in this setup, black's got the passive rook guarding the pawn, and I've got the active rook, and my rook can never be removed even if he gets his king to d6. And for this reason, white's winning, also because here I'm the one who's up the pawn. So so for that reason, if I reach this position with my active rook, then it's winning. So that's why taking on b4 is a very serious error, because in all these endgames, this pawn on b4 is going to be much stronger. So I'm always going to have quicker access to the fifth rank and hitting the pawn on b5, b6, or b5. So here Sam played queen b5. I played rook to c1. Rook to d1 is also playable, but I didn't play rook d1 because I thought after h6, queen d5, again trying to exchange the queens. If we reach this one again, or actually this one is not so clear. This might be winning for white after b5, rook c4, f3, rook b4, h4, followed by g4, and walking the king all the way up. But this is not clearly winning, and well, it might be winning long term. It's not 100%, and there's no reason to really go for this. So for that reason, I didn't want to play rook d1. I thought rook c1 made sense because I had a very clear theme. Thank you first, not thank you. First by one says, are you at the Chase Park Plaza? Bad connection. Yeah, I'm at the Chase Park Plaza. Apparently I should stay at the Parkway Plaza because they have Ethernet ports, so I would have a perfect stream and no issues, but c'est la vie, c'est la vie. Or as we say in Spanish, así es la vida. Así es la vida. Pero qué lástima. All right, so after rook c1, he played h6 here. So Sam needs to create a square for his king to run to h7 before he can use his rook or his queen and create any threats. Thank you, Chessmate94, for gifting a sub to Apple Mango Banana. Thank you. Yo quiero Taco Bell. That is so like 1998 or whenever the Chihuahua was. Thank you, BBY Nugbrain for donating 700 bits. Thank you so much, BBY Nugbrain. BBY Nugbrain. BBY. What is BB? Is that baby or I don't know? Anyway, thank you. Say apple, mango, banana, apple, mango, banana, apple, mango, banana, apple, mango, banana. There you go. I said it 4 times for you guys. So all right. So Sam played h6 to create a square for his king. Now I played queen c6. Same basic theme and concept here. So if black trades and goes b5, actually this is even worse. So I can go rook b6 and just pick off the pawn. And if he plays rook b8, I go b5, and this is an even worse version for black, because here the pawn is 1 square closer to queening, and the rook still can't be removed. So even after black goes king f8, let's just make some random moves. I can still just chill out with king f2, and he can't remove this rook. If he ever removes the rook off b8, I take, and eventually I'm just going to run the king and run all these pawns up the board and just win here. So Chris Wainscott says, God, I can stream from Novosibirsk, but Hikaru can barely stream from St. Louis. We are in the upside down. But my voice is still coming through clear enough. So we're not quite in the upside down like in Stranger Things. But thank you for that, Mr. Christopher Wainscott. So if I reach this endgame, it's completely winning for white. So that's why I played queen c6. Very thematical, just trying to reach a set endgame, which I know is winning by force. So here, Sam played queen a6. He's obviously got to do something, so I'm threatening to win the rook or the queen, and he doesn't want to trade, so he goes queen a6. Queen a4 would hang the pawn on b6, and now with 2 extra pawns, it's just winning. So Sam played queen a6. I played b5. Logical move to fix the pawn, fix this weakness. So even though it's not a rook on c6, the queen on c6 is dominating here, and it's hard for black to protect this pawn. So Sam played queen a5, and now I played the last really critical move. I played rook to d1. And this is a very, very good move because the queen can't move off the a5 without hanging b6. But at the same time, the rook takes the open file. So here black has no access to any of the open files. The queen covers c8, it covers e8. It also keeps an eye on a8. The rook on d1 covers d8, which also gives me access to d7 or d6 to put pressure on b6. And after rook d1, I think this is just losing for black. So Sam played rook b8 to try to protect the pawn and activate his queen to a4. Now it's worth noting, even here, even if you get queen a4, though, let me just, after king h4, even after queen a4, this queen is such a rock on c6 because it guards b5 and e4 while hitting the pawn on b6, and the queen can't be removed from c6 either. So after rook b8, I played king h2, just sidestep, move the king. Now I've got queen d6 ideas, rook d6 or rook d7. And also, if I want to play rook d7, I don't want to allow queen e1 check, hitting the king and picking up the pawn on f2. So after rook b8, I played king h2. Here, Sam played queen to a2, trying to do something to activate the queen. But now here I played queen to c7. Important move, hitting the rook, hitting the pawn on b6. Sam played queen a8. If he moves the rook to e8 here, I can play rook to d8. If he trades, I take with check, hitting the king on g8, king h7, and then I take b6, and I protect f2. I'm up 2 pawns, and this is completely winning. If Sam plays queen e6 here, then I can just trade queen b6, and black has to check. If black plays queen takes e4 here, I can play queen to c7, and now black cannot stop me from running the pawn up the board. The queen covers both the checking squares on f4, e5, and so it's just game over because there's no way to stop this b pawn from running right to b8. So therefore, black has to throw in a check, but after g3, queen e4, there are probably a couple ways to win, but I think quite simply queen c5 followed by b6. In the long term, will win. It doesn't win right on the spot, but eventually black won't be able to prevent the pawn from going to b8, being escorted by the queen on c5, whether it's to c6 or c7. But eventually, the pawn's going to go to b8, and black won't be able to stop that. So this would be a technically winning endgame as well. So for that reason, Sam played queen e8, trying to maybe attack the pawn at e4, protect the rook, prevent an exchange of rooks on the 8th rank as well. So here I played rook to d7, hitting the pawn on f7. Sam played rook f8, only move to protect the pawn on f8. He also can't move the queen, because if you take, then you just hang the rook on b8 here. So rook f8, I played queen b6. Queen takes e4. Now I played queen d6. Very important move as well. Again, if black plays, let's just say, I don't know, move like rook to e8, then I can play rook d8, takes, king h7, and queen c7, and it's the exact same line. Cover the squares, run the b pawn all the way up the board, and it's just winning for white. And the only other way to prevent the rook trade, besides trying to trade queens like Sam did in the game, is to play queen a8. But after b6, b7 is coming, and rook and queen are so passive. My king is completely safe. There are no checks because the queen covers all the squares on the diagonal, and this would just be winning as well. So here Sam played queen e6, another way to try and keep the game going. But unfortunately, after trade and b6, this pawn is too fast, and the rook is going to have to stay passive. Here Sam played king h7. If he goes rook takes f2, I can simply play rook d8 check. If rook f8, I just trade and go b7, make a queen. If king h7, I just go b7, and the rook covers the 8th rank. And after rook b2, I just make a queen, and I'm just up a rook and completely winning. So it's pretty much over after b6. Sam went king h7. I played b7, king g6. Now I played rook c7, threatening rook c8, and then I'm going to make a queen, forcing Sam to go rook b8. And now after king g3, Sam played king f5. If he doesn't want to just play king f5 and give up the pawn, another sample line would be king f6, king f4. Let's just say g5, king e4, h5. I can play something like g4. Takes. If e5, I go king d5, like e4, king c6. I'm just going to play rook c8 and make a queen again. If black moves the rook, like I just go rook c8 and make a queen. So pretty much everything here is winning. If e5, I just run my king straight into c6 again, same concept. So for that reason, Sam played king f5. I took the pawn on g7, played rook d8, played f3. One last trick is to not let this rook get active. So this is probably winning as well, but now at least the rook is active behind the pawn. And this is also losing, but the rook is active, so why allow that? So that's why I played f3, cutting off the check. Sam played e5, I played rook c7, threatening rook c8, forcing the rook back into passive territory on b8. And now everything wins. I played king f2, e4, trade, king g3, king f5, king h4, king g6. And now I played rook c6. And here Sam resigned in view of king g7, rook b6. So here Sam resigned because of king g7, rook b6, and here now the rook is super passive. The rook is behind the pawn, so you can never even move it because then I make a queen. And eventually I'm just going to go king h5, g4, h4, g5, g6, or win the pawn on h6 eventually. And so for that reason, Sam resigned here. So that was the end of the game. So that was my game today in the third round against Sam Sevian that I won. So this was how the game ended. So this was the third round today, which I won. So I've won one game, 2 draws. I'm on 2 points out of 3, half point out of first place behind Jeffrey Zhang. So far so good. Tomorrow I think I play A Wonder Ling with Black, and then I think I play Fabiano the day after, if I'm not mistaken. So everything's going pretty smoothly so far. The tournament is, I believe, 11 rounds. It's 12 players, so it's 11 rounds. So we still have 8 rounds to go. Long way to go. Not even thinking about winning yet. So many more games to go, but it's certainly good to get a win in this third round. And just have to focus on playing well tomorrow against A Wonder, and then against Fabiano, and then I think after Fabiano it's a rest day, if I'm not mistaken. I'm playing against A Wonder Liang tomorrow. That's what I'm playing against, Anatoly 1974. Black against A Wonder, and then white against Fabiano. So those are my next 2 games. So yeah, and I think I'm tied with Wesley. Wesley drew today against Varushin. Blobe 75 FM says, still many interviews with Maurice. Long road, be brave. Thank you, Blobe 75. Good one. Yeah, so I think I'm on +1. Wesley drew another game. I must say, speaking of Wesley, it always is very amusing whenever he and Varushin play. I notice that they both always look very angry, and there's a lot of tension in the air for some reason between the two of them. I don't really know why, but they both look very, very angry. So yeah, they both look very, very angry. I've noticed that. I don't know why, but they just both look super angry. Like, I get they have a pass, but anytime they play, they both look really angry, like they want to like punch each other. So it's very, very it's a very strange dynamic to see. But nonetheless, Wesley and Var drew today. I couldn't tell who was angry about the game. Wesley seemed unhappy in the middle. Var seemed angry at the end. So I don't know. Just like me and Magnus, we might dislike each other, but I don't think there's not that tension. Like, we're competitors, but it's not the whole, like, I mean, they just look really, really mad. They just look angry all the time. So it's a very strange thing to see. And I've seen it the last few years. Now, obviously it's related to what happened a few years back, but it's still kind of strange all these years later to see it. But anyway, that's that. I also am tied with Lenny A. Dominguez. I think he won a game with Black today against Ray Robson, so he's also on +1. After missing a win against Shanklin yesterday. Yeah, we dislike each other, but like, it's not like there's not the palpable anger in the air. Like, there's a palpable anger in the air when you see Wesley and Varushin playing, and it's just kind of weird. It's just very weird. But that's that. So, there's a difference between disliking someone and like being angry all the time at the person you're playing. There's a difference. But yeah. But anyway, yeah. So yeah, and Lenny won against Ray today after missing a win yesterday against Sam. So he's also on +1. So he's also on +1. So many more games to go. Fabiano only drew today against A Wonder. So he's still on even. But again, 8 more rounds to go. Lot of good stuff coming up. And just have to take it one game at a time. So.